Pleasure to be here. We have the unenviable position of going right after lunch, so we will try to keep this upbeat, do our best. I've got three amazing panelists here. We had an incredible prep call, and this session is called Measure What You Treasure. So before we get started, if you don't know who CRISP is, we actually work with a lot of the companies already in this room, so we're a retail data and intelligence platform. We help CPGs get the most out of the data that your retail partners already share with you. So retailers share a ton of data, point of sale data, sales data, inventory data, et cetera. And what we do is we help enable your retailer sales teams as well as your central offices to make most sense of that data. So starting off, we've got Jennifer Angelus, who is the Director of Digital Shelf, Kristina Fox, Senior Manager Omni-Activation and Center of Excellence for Shopper Strategy, and Kevin Manke, the Director of Media, Data, Tech, and Operations. So starting with, the world is awash in data. We've got so much data. The challenge is that how do you make the highest and best use of it? So starting with you, starting with you, Jennifer, digital shelf is becoming more and more important. We see shoppers going online, retail media, we hear about it, retail media continuing its explosive growth. How do you make sure that what you're presenting to the consumer is best in class?
Absolutely. So I think you have to break it into two pieces. One is selling internally, and two is the selling to the consumer and the shopper externally. Internally, it's all about building a story around the why, the context. Some of my favorite stats. 80% of purchases are now digitally influenced, and one of my new favorite ones, that 63% of the retailers, so these are our customers, are saying that the digital shelf is just as important as the physical shelf. So you have to be able to sell internally on the importance, to be able to build that measurement and that insight to drive the strategy externally. And externally, it's all about building a strategy around the consumer and having the consumer at the heart of what you do. We always say that the PDP is your packaging, so as much attention as brand marketers, we pay attention to the design and the packaging of the physical package. We need to do the same in the digital realm. And we also know that it amplifies our products and brand messaging. So really making sure that we're reinforcing that to the consumer and building our brand voice in the digital shelf is really critical.
Yeah, it certainly is. And if 80% is there's 80% influence into how a consumer purchases, Kristina, how do you think about creating a seamless plan so that when a shopper is looking online, if they don't purchase online, they come into the store, how do you manage that omni-channel experience?
Well, I think we heard a lot about it today, is collaboration is key, right? So when for me, working across Omnichannel is making sure that I work with everyone, right? And getting out there first. I'm constantly going back to the teams and saying, could you bring me in? Even if I can't do anything about what you're working on in an upper funnel, you're gonna want me to bring it through and make it work where the rubber meets the road at the customers, at the actual retailers. And if I don't know what's happening up here, I can't help you down here. Whereas though I can help drive it. So that's like this seamless integration. So like when you're thinking about it from a digital shelf perspective as well, if I don't know what Jen is doing and she doesn't know what I'm doing, how am I bringing it together? So that collaboration is 100% key in making sure that we hit upon it or we're part of it in the beginning, from the beginning. If there's a concept, an idea in your head, have the conversation with your omni-channel teams so that they can help guide and build it, because there's nothing worse than bringing it full funnel and then by the time it shows up on my desk, I'm like, yeah, I can't do anything. Sorry, there's nothing I can do. There's no door to open. And you know, I come from agency in my past, so, and I've done it as, you know, coming up with these national big campaigns, and I've seen it where we all work on these things and then it doesn't come to life in the retailer or on the digital space because there's no white space, there's nowhere to work. And that, I think, is why collaboration is key.
And then Kevin, what are the technical or technological challenges in implementing these omni-channel strategies?
Yeah, I think the two of the bigger challenges we face, I would say, are one, frequency management, where with the fragmentation within the media landscape and every retailer now becoming a publisher or a network, making sure that we controlling how often consumers are seeing our ads, I think is super important to make sure that the experience that they have with our brands is a positive one. So obviously, again, where there are walled gardens and things like that, I think frequency management is a big challenge that we face. I also would say measurement, again, is another one. I think, again, with the fragmentation in the industry and, again, retailers being in those walled gardens, I think having a more holistic or omni-channel reporting and measurement framework, I think, is a challenge that a lot of marketers face, especially us.
And do you see that being solved by Danone? Is that being solved by the industry? Are the retail media network players, Criteo, Citrus, Profiterra, are they trying to solve these? How do you think about it from an industry perspective? Because everybody has these same challenges.
Yeah, I think it's really a combination of all of us trying to ask the right questions and kind of push the right buttons. I think for us, as a brand advertiser, I think we're trying to push our retail partners, at least from the media standpoint, like how can we tie our reporting and measurement together to understand the national dollars that we're putting through a Walmart or Kroger. How are they performing in conjunction with what Kristina and her team are doing from a shopper standpoint, or what we're doing with e-com? So I think, how do we triangulate kind of the different budget sources that we're putting into a platform or a retailer, and again, ask the right questions and really push on them to help solve some of these problems along with other industry.
Yeah, that's I'm going to push on that, and I promise I'll get to everybody else. But are they receptive? Because some of this is, well, we want to keep our walled garden. We want to keep it a little opaque. We want you to continue to spend money with us. And if the ROAS is a little fuzzy, that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think, again, depending on the capabilities of some of the retailers, some are more sophisticated than others on how they can, at least within their ecosystem, report out on, again, those different budget sources. And I also think, some partners do try to model out, what is the national impact that some of the media is having. So I think some are open to it, but yeah, I think it's, again, pushing them to be more, receptive to trying to have more of a holistic view of performance.
Yeah, so things are changing.
And just to add to that, some of them, we met with Walmart last week and the week before Kroger. Some of them are giving their capabilities and bringing it to us and saying how we can leverage it and going beyond the ROAS. It used to be just ROAS. It used to be ROI, and they brought it to incremental return on investment. They brought it to ROM. They brought it into household penetration. And digital penetration. I was looking straight at you and then went household. They really came to us with a whole bevy of different ways that we can measure using Walmart Connect.
And whether it's Walmart Connect or 8451 or Roundella, whoever it is, how do you, Jen, use data to help optimize the digital shelf?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we look at measurement in two core pillars. One is more very quantitative KPIs, things like content compliance, in-stock rate, share of page one. So those are your Profiterra, Data Impact, Commerce IQ, those companies that are measuring those digital shelf KPIs. And then you have a second pillar of measurement that we're building a capability on now, which is all around content effectiveness. And this can be both actually qualitative and quantitative. So one, it can be quantitative from the stance of, are you looking at share of attention? Are you looking at, where they're and how much time they're spending on each piece of the images, right? But it also qualitative is getting those real consumer verbatims. In what order is it most important to show them the information? Are you using those heat maps to really optimize and measure content effectiveness? So we always have conversion in mind, and honestly, it's changing so rapidly, right? We can never lose sight of that. So we always say that it's a process, not a project. Really working with our brand partners that this content creation and syndication, all this work is never one and done. It's truly an evergreen business need that we're constantly working towards optimizing.
Well, let's talk about a success that we chatted about in the pre-call, and that's the cold foam creamer. It is. I will get that out eventually. I'll get it right. It sounds like it was a pretty effective, a very successful omni-channel campaign. Kristina, I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't heard, we came out with cold foam creamer. And it was one of our biggest innovation-based launches, and we worked on it just together for the I don't want to say the first time, but remember I was saying collaboration. We brought the right people in and sat around. I think Lauren talked earlier this morning about a war room. We didn't really have a war room. We just really made sure that everybody had a say. And we were able to come together and put such a vibrant national campaign for a launch behind it, to making sure that we not only captured what we wanted to do with each of the retailers, we made sure that it worked on the digital shelf, we made sure that we were able to measure it, but we also brought it to life at Coachella to make sure that we were able to hit it. And it was such an amazing launch, and we were able to set those KPIs right from the beginning and then go back and analyze it, and it truly was a success. And it's definitely something that we looked at with all of the measurement tools that I was talking about before. We didn't just look at the return on investment. We didn't just look at conversion. We didn't just look at household penetration. I mean, we went completely through everything to say, wow, what a success that was. And now we want to try and repeat it for the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So what type of data do you wish you had? What data isn't available that you would like to have for, whether it's digital shelf optimization or whether it's for omnichannel measurement or omnichannel activation? What's missing?
I can speak from digital shelf because this is a challenge I'd love to hear from other manufacturers, is that we often find ourselves saying directional data is better than no data. And that's because there's always so much noise in the data, and how do you get to the true insights, especially as we build those omni-channel capabilities more and more, is how are we understanding, to that stat earlier, right, 80% of purchasers are digitally influenced. Well, how do we get to understand what that means for Danone, and really being able to do that one day will be amazing.
Any thoughts on data, missing data that you would like to have that you don't have, or data that's available but it's not available at the cadence or granularity that you need it?
I mean, I think for us, again, with our retail partners, we're getting insights and reporting and things pretty quickly, versus, if we kind of zoom out for a minute, we're using MMM and other, measurement tools in our, toolkit to measure impact. Those are typically backwards looking and slower to get results on, to really impact something in flight. So I think for us, again, the data that the retailers sit on is a huge amount that we're probably not utilizing to its fullest extent. So for me, it's maybe not so much what data are we missing or do we need, it's more how can we better leverage the data that we do have access to better inform plans and make optimizations and things like that. I mean, for me, it's really, how can we, again, have more of a holistic view and not have to go partner by partner to kind of get that lens of how things are doing.
But and then if you have a holistic view, do you then start to divvy up who's going to get which budgets for next year?
I mean, I think ideal state you would be able to look at least from a media standpoint, where's the next dollar best spent? And I think that's pretty important. Obviously, there's JVPs and other considerations that we have to play within as far as the sandbox. But I think it's really about where's my next dollar going to have the most impact for our brands.
And one analogy we always make too is that paid search equals slotting. So we also want to make sure that we're always having that mindset. So we would never not pay slotting for an innovation, right? So we need to have that same search sufficiency mindset too, of we could never not do that paid search, otherwise we'll have share gaps.
And I always bring it back to collaboration, because I think all three of us are fighting for the same budget. And I don't want to say fighting, because it is what Kevin was saying, is that you sit and you analyze and you try to understand and optimize using that data where it makes most sense. But the first questions out of my mouth constantly when I walk in a room are, what's your objective? Because 9 times out of 10, somebody's coming to me and saying, Shopper's the end-all be-all, or Omni's the end-all be-all. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not going to solve your problem. If you have an awareness problem, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to get it to put in the, into the basket. Or I can help you through a digital shelf, but there's always that kind of little bit of time. And that's why I think that collaboration is important, so that we can all share the data and be in that room, whether we want to call it a war room or not, but just to share it so that we can understand.
taking a little bit of a left turn, how do you think about personalization in an omnichannel world?
Knowing your audience. And that can vary, especially in an omni-channel world. I mean, if you think about it, it can go anywhere from a consumer to a shopper. It could go from a channel leader to a retailer slash customer. Your audience just changes constantly. And so I think in order to personalize, you need to be able to leverage that data of knowing who that audience is, whether it's psychographics we were talking about before, or demographics. It's really getting in that mind, because the mind shift, especially from an omni position, is, I don't know about you, but like when I go to a store on the weekend, I'll show up at a Walmart and then I'll show up at a Stop and Shop. It's two different mind shifts, and there's nothing better to go and stand, I did it this week, on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. in a Stop and Shop. Just stand next to where your product is and watch what happens. And then I'm one of those creepy people who is like, why did you pick up that Chobani? But I think that gives you that insight into the personalization.
So by the way, I'm going to stay out of Stop and Shops on Monday near where you live. So do you you talked about collaboration earlier. Do you share that insight with Jen so that when she's planning the digital shelf, how does that information get fed across the organization?
I typically send something back out to the individual if I see something out there in the market or in anything. There was a sign over here, I'll take a picture of it and send it out to the team. I may not send it to the broad organization. I think we're evolving to that because we should be doing that, but I will definitely make sure that I share it out across.
And I think customization is also about your channel. So you have to know your audience and you have to know the channel. So when you think about it, and nearly 80% of consumers, they expect the exact same experience regardless of what channel. But then it's our job collaborating to say, okay, but what does that mean for our channel? For example, we may have beautiful romance copy that we have on our website, but then you go to the digital shelf and you're like, okay, well, how do I infuse SEO? So one, absolutely, you need to know your audience, but two, how are we going to drive sales and how are we going to drive conversion in that channel? So it's really important to understand both.
All right, so now it's the future. 12, 18, 24 months from now. What's changed? What do you hope has happened? And what do you think you need to do, or what do your partners need to do to get you there? Maybe we'll start with Kevin.
Yeah, I think for us, again, I kind of touched on it a couple times, but really pushing our partners to get more or closer to that omni-channel or more holistic reporting. I think, executives walking in the hallways like, hey, how's the campaign doing? Like, we need to be able to, in real time, be able to tell them like, hey, we're successful at driving sales if that's the objective, or household penetration, whatever the metric is. So for me, it's again like, how can we unlock the data that we sit on or that our partners sit on to really lean in and be able to provide the organization and the brand teams, the results and the metrics that they need to either fight for more budget or protect against, a budget cut or things like that. So again, I think it's less about, finding something new, but really unlocking something that we have and, putting the team in place.
And how much of the data that you're utilizing, how you're using it for storytelling, yes, it's fighting for budget to make sure that you have that, but do the insights that you're generating then get passed down to the field sales team so they can walk into your customer, the retailer, and say, here's why I need more shelf space, or here's why I need whatever it is?
I think our retail partners and teams do a really good job of kind of sharing those insights across, whether it's Kristina's team or the media team from like a national standpoint. So I think they do a good job. I think what we're trying to do is understand, again, the retailers and these partners sit on a ton of data. So how can we leverage those audience insights or basket analysis, reporting to actually feed back into more of our national channels or the audiences we're building that we use in social or digital video and streaming. How can we, have more of a dialogue or, data pass back in a sense, or insight pass back as far as, again, what what does a Walmart shopper look like and what are they doing, and can we take any insights on how we might build a broader audience for more of the awareness side of the house?
I agree with everything that you said. Ditto. I just also think that it needs to happen in a more consistent and faster manner. Because a lot of times, especially in the Omni world and where we're trying to get the retailer information to tell that whole full holistic story so that we can pass it on to our sales team so that they can leverage it for the next new thing or the next sales story to getting it into our partners. I think I would just like it to be a little bit faster.
Well, that goes back to the question. 18 to 24 months from now, what's changed? So you have your magic wand, and this is what Kristina's going to do.
It would be faster, and it would be definitely getting out there before anybody can anticipate anything, and making sure that we have enough time to unlock what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to unlock display space. I'm trying to unlock how to get in the mindset at the shelf in order for you to put international delight in your basket. I'm trying. So I think it will change and it will be faster. It'll be interesting how AI starts playing a role, but we'll get there.
And I can speak back on the theme of collaboration too. So I think when you think about what we're going to need for things like AI, it's going to be two main themes. One is automation, two is efficiency, and so a lot of that comes down to collaboration and ways of working, and that is going to drive the speed to market. So I can share one example that we're really working to transform right now across Danone, and that's we built this new commercial success activation guide and a commercial execution checklist. And for the first time in my nearly 9.5 years at Danone, we have all the stakeholders in the room at the kickoff of a project, and we are building the plan holistically, omni-channel, screen to shelf, together on the timelines we need. And no, you're not there yet. These things, transformation like this, take a lot of time. But once you start to work in that mindset, the collaborative, okay, we're in this together, this is our Omni plan, it all the magic unfolds from there. So I think automation and efficiency are where we're going to be. AI will drive a lot of that, but also the ways we work together and the processes that we create are going to impact.
I love the way you're thinking about that future state, putting it in place now. I did not say AI. It's like a couple of two dirty letters, but we're not there yet. But I think it is coming. So I think we're just about up on time. Love to take if there are any questions from the audience. I know it's after lunch. There's got to be one. Yes, ma'am.
You guys talked about models for better and then, but then you also talked about speed and getting that 3 months after. So I've also heard a couple times on stage you'll get so caught up in the measurement and make sure you know your KPI. Did you say the shift is now starting to be like it doesn't have to be sales, it doesn't have to be this right away. Let's go back to what the KPI was and that's the measurement and capability.
Yeah, I would say for us it all goes back to the brand brief and what are the objectives? Is it about is there a comms task that we're trying to move the needle on the perception of taste or whether people trust our brand and things like that, or is it about bringing in new households and driving sales? I think at the end of the day it's going to be are we driving sales, but I think from a media standpoint it's laddering up to the objectives of the campaign and identifying what are the KPIs that ladder up to that objective and what's the measurement tool that's going to get you that result or that insight. I think, yes, M&M, I wish we got it in 3 months. I think it's 6 or 7 months. So again, typically it's not impacting in-flight campaigns. It's more, again, used at a high level for channel mix. So for us, it's again, how can we lean on a sales lift or a brand lift from a Kantar and NCS to really, again, get more of that as close to real time as we can on some of those other metrics. And again, honestly, from a speed standpoint, the retailers, again, are going to be the ones that are going to be able to get it to you the quickest. But I think, again, to your point, it doesn't always have to be ROI or ROAS. I think they're, again, from the media side, we're about building long-lasting brands, and so there are other metrics more on the brand equity side that we also need to be conscious of and making sure that we're tracking and optimizing to.
And just to add to that, is that I totally agree with not everything is about the sales lift. Don't tell my salespeople because I'll get in trouble. But there are other pieces that we can do to help. So it is driving that awareness in the store while they're there in the mindset, standing in front of creamers or yogurt going, which one do I get? I mean, even if I just get them to think about me for 2 seconds, they thought about me, then the next time they come back, hopefully they'll think about me again. So it is driving that trial and awareness, and it's not just about the actual sale, although that's what I want.
Sure.
I was going to say back to the digital shelf, for us it's about getting in the cart because we know so many of the purchases are repeat from just add to cart previously purchased. So for us it's not just sales lift, but it helps.
All right, Jen, Kristina, Kevin, thank you so much. Very much appreciate your insights.
Thank you, guys.